India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the 81 All Out podcast. We are thrilled today to be joined by a special guest from Delhi. This is one of India's senior most sports journalists and one of the most beloved writers for many of us who grew up in the 90s, the deputy editor of the Hindu, Vijay Lokapally. Hi Vijay, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Siddharth and Ashoka. Actually, it's an honor. It's a great privilege to be chatting with you.
Oh, please, Vijay. This is the least we could do. And we are so thrilled that you could join. And as he said, Ashoka is with me as well. Ashoka, who is at AB Van on Twitter. Hi, Ashoka.
Hey, Sid. Hey, Vijay.
Hi.
Hi. And Vijay is on Twitter as well. You can follow him. I'll link his handle when I link the post. And he always has wonderful insights about everything that's going on in the world of sport. So, Vijay, let me start off from the beginning, as they say. You started your career in the early 80s, as I see it, and began at the Hindu in 1986. So, nearly 35 years at the Hindu now. So, just want to go back and talk a bit about back then. It seems like a different universe at the moment. How was it? Can you tell us a bit about your journey in the early years?
Yes, I was, in fact, when Bishan Singh Bedi, one of the finest cricketers we have had, when he retired, I read the newspapers next morning and I felt justice had not been done. The tributes were not as I would have expected on such a great cricketer when he retired. So what I did, I shot off a letter to the Patriot newspaper and the Indian Express. And it was a letter to the editor, which became an article because they liked it so much they published it. Patriot published it as an article, and Express used it as a letter. And Mr. Bedi got to know about it. He read it, and then he called me. He sought me out through the sports editor of the Patriot newspaper, and he gave me a handwritten note, which I still have with me, praising me for my write-up on him. And that was probably the motivation or maybe the encouragement I would have needed at that point. And that actually triggered my journey. Then I started writing profiles of cricketers whom I knew, a lot of them from the colleges of Delhi, schools of Delhi, and the series became very popular. And gradually, and there was a children's magazine called The Children's World. And they asked me to cover a test match for them. Imagine. The 1981 test match between India and England at the Firozshah Kotla.
Wow, a children's magazine.
Yes. They got me a press pass. And then there I learned what is a press pass, what is a press box. There was one gentleman, Mr. Kamlesh Thapliyal, who is no more, and he taught me the etiquettes of press box. He told me how to reach the Kotla and which gate to come in from. It was wonderful education. I can never ever forget him for that help.
Yeah, one of the things that every sports journalist will remember is that first day when he enters the press box, because it's something that you are never prepared for, something that you have never seen. What are your memories of that time when you first entered? Who did you meet? What were your memories from that day?
Siddharth, that was, I can tell you, I was there before the gates opened. And I was told when I reached there, Mr. Thapliyal was in charge of the press box actually. And he told me, beta, last row mein baithna, because you're covering for a magazine. So don't feel bad. I said, no, sir. And I was the first to enter the press box, but took the last seat in the last row. So that's okay. But I was waiting for the stalwarts to walk in, And one person I was dying to meet was Mr. K.N. Prabhu. Mm-hmm. He was there writing for the Times of India. And when he walked in, I just went and introduced myself. He didn't talk much, and I was told he's very snooty, but he was not. Over the next 5 days, I learned so much from him, and he wished me good luck. I watched the game, India England. Yeah, I mean, just I would just observe these gentlemen. Some of the journalists, they had binoculars. I don't know what they were trying to spot from the binoculars, and I could see from my last row. I could see the sea movement. I could see so much. I mean, it was I just absorbed the whole ambience of Firuzshah Kotla. It was winter, cold, but wonderful experience, Siddharth. You can imagine. I had watched a few Ranji Trophy matches before that, yes, but covering a Test match from the press box, yeah, that was something I never could have imagined, and. Obviously, I mean, I can't remember everything from that day, but one thing I remember is getting to meet Ken Prabhu before the toss.
Wonderful. And you spoke about Mr. Taplial talking about the etiquettes of the press box. Yeah. And I know that a lot of senior journalists, especially back then, were very particular about press box behavior. Can you talk a bit about that back then and what you felt about that?
Yes. He told me not to clap.
Okay.
That was the first lesson I learned that one you don't have to raise your voice, not to speak loudly, and then he told me how to take notes, how to maintain scoreboard in my notebook. That was easy because I used to do scoring in local matches, but etiquettes was not to disturb others. I mean, that was one important lesson I learned. And talking of not to clap, many years later, Siddharth, when I went to New Zealand in 1998, if you remember, Rahul Dravid batted well at Hamilton.
Yes.
And when he was coming back, I just stood in the press box and I just gestured. I made a gesture of well played, with a silent clap. I didn't clap actually, just a gesture. And Mr. Dicky Ratnagar, who liked me a lot, I'm very indebted to him. He just got up and said, "Son, step out." And I went out of the press box.
Wow.
Gave me a lashing. Yeah, lashing. What were you doing? I said, "Sir, I was what?" He said, "No, you're not supposed to cheer from the press box." I said, "Sir, I didn't make a sound. I mean, nobody." He says, "No, you will not do that again." So I felt very bad. But anyway, I finished my report. And we were in the same hotel. And, when I went back to the room, he had already reached because he would finish his report in quick time. He was writing for Reuters also, I think, and a couple of agencies and some English newspapers. I had a note at the reception that I had to call him. I said, "More lashing." And you know what was in store for me, Siddharth?
Yeah.
A dinner.
Oh, wow.
He took me out for dinner.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
He used to call me Rao Sahib, Rao Sahib. He would speak Marathi with me. And because he was in Mumbai, he was from Mumbai.
Yes.
So, I mean, yes. And then, of course, this was related to the etiquettes of the press box, where you shouldn't disturb, you shouldn't speak loudly, you should be properly attired, not to come in shorts and all. Of course, later on in the West Indies, we would go to the press box wearing shorts, but that was accepted norm. In Australia also, if you remember.
Yeah.
Australia, you meet customs officials in shorts. They are proper shorts with belt and all.
Yeah.
So these are some of the memories.
But what are your views on this whole clapping issue now? Like after all these years, what do you think about it? And today, if you are in a press box and if you see a 20 or 30-year-old journalist clapping, what would be your reaction?
That is exactly what I wanted to ask as well.
Well, I did react. I told one boy not to do it. And then I remember Sharda Ugra, my good friend. She said, "Vijay, let it be. You don't know how they will receive it." And of course um, she was very kind to me in the sense that she was only trying to warn me not to sort of um, try and give gyan to today's generation. But there are many uh, who I've interacted with, and they've been very receptive. But it's fine. I mean, I accept it as a change, but I cannot accept like what Mr. Thaplial and Mr. D.K. Ratnagar told me. You're not supposed to cheer from the press box. If you have to do that, go and sit in the stands. Nobody's going to stop you from cheering.
Yeah.
But press box has a certain decorum. And if you see, Siddharth, I have not seen any English journalist or an Australian journalist or somebody from, say, from New Zealand or the West Indies cheering, clapping, or saying, "Oh, well played. Oh, that's it. Oh, get him." No, they'll never do it. But if they do it now, you can't help. I mean, probably we have so many. In any case, we have a whole lot of cheerleaders now in the press box.
Yeah, that is the thing. And I also notice, with the whole selfie culture, that so many journalists love to fill their timelines with selfies with celebrity sportsmen and cricketers and things. Is that something that bothers you, or do you feel this is the day and age of these things?
No, not at all. There is no harm. There is no harm if you have a platform to sort of, if you want, you can say, if you want to flaunt it, or you want to showcase it, or you want to share. If you want to share, I mean, they'll say we are sharing our pleasant moments from the cricket journey. Nothing wrong with it. And pictures, yes. I mean, there are. I requested Jeff Thompson after an interview because I wanted a picture with Jeff Thompson. I wanted a picture with Barry Richards. I wanted a picture with Viv Richards, Sunil Gavaskar, and Gary Sovers.
Okay.
These are
your heroes.
my heroes. And of course, my dear friend Kapil Dev. I have so many. But there's no harm, Siddharth, if you want to take pictures and keep it for your private album. And if you want to put it on Twitter, you want to share it with your friends on Facebook, it's okay. I have one fantastic picture with me. It's a press conference with Tendulkar captain and Jadeja vice captain. And it's a press conference with I and the other journalist being my dear friend R. Kaushik.
Okay.
Just the two of us. That was a press conference from Zimbabwe.
Oh, wow. This must have been 98, I think?
Yes, 98.
Yeah, that one-off test. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that also was a press conference. There are so many other press conferences where you have about 200 people attending. So, but that's one of my favorite pictures.
No, but one thing that I notice in all the cricketers that you mentioned that you have taken photos with are all former cricketers. Now, what my question is that when one takes a selfie with a current cricketer and posts it, the next day, does there immediately become a bit of a contradiction when one has to criticize that player?
Yes. You are absolutely right. But Siddharth, I have had issues. Once Sachin told me, "Oh, I think you are watching a different match."
Oh, okay.
So, and another time, Dravid said, I have an issue with you. We'll talk." So there have been times, yes, once with Venkatesh Prasad, but it sometimes I realized, yes, maybe I was a bit too harsh. There were times when the players would realize, no. I mean, he was only doing his job. The only thing is, Siddharth, if I'm digressing, you can be critical. It depends on your relationship also. You can be critical in a manner where you don't get personal.
Yeah.
You don't get personal. If suppose you haven't performed well on the field and I point it out in a very objective manner, no cricketer would feel bad. No cricketer, because in fact, he'll respect you for your work.
Yeah.
So you have to earn respect through your work. And I was lucky that not I mean, my generation of cricket journalists were very lucky.
in a sense that the players respected you.
Oh, respected. Yes, not just respected. Some of them became friends over the years, and personal kind of relationship where you could disagree with them, where they would share so much with you, and I would also share with them within the same faith that it will not get out from the room, all the talk we have had. So but it's good. Many of those secrets are still with me. They will go with me to the grave. But those were good times, Siddharth. The players would trust you. So
Yeah, and also I think what the players used to notice, and maybe still notice, but not as much, is that the journalists who were professional and who cared about the coverage, who came on time, who came early, in fact, and who came for press conferences, who were there, who were always there to do their job, unlike others who sometimes came late. Some were hardly in the press box. Just came for having lunch or tea and then went away. I think the players took note of those things, right?
Yeah. And I mean, things like I can share. In Australia, Kapil was the coach at the Nets. He said, "Arey yaar, why are you coming? We have to practice, bloody. We have work to do. Why don't you go around and see the city?" So I said, I've been sent to do this only. He says, go and have a ball. Come down, come back, come to the evening. If there's something, I'll let you know. So thing is, he wanted me to enjoy, basically, not to just come and watch cricket practice, nets, next day again the match. So those were different times, na Siddharth. It won't happen now. It will not happen now. And I have spent countless hours watching net practice.
Yes.
Countless. And sometimes they've asked me, "Don't you get bored?" So, but then I used to say, I have a job to do. I mean, I do get bored. There are times when I wasn't well. Once in high fever, I went, and then when it rained, and then it got worse for me in England. So, but this is all part of the process. So you learn so much, and unless you players get to see you, no, Siddharth, I'll tell you, Praveen Amre is a very dear friend.
Okay.
Praveen Amre lived in Mumbai. Then he played for Railways. So where would he get to read the Hindu? Only if he was playing in Delhi.
Correct.
So he became a friend only because he saw me at the ground. He knew, okay, yeah, he comes here, he does matches. Then he asked me, and then he would see me every day before the game begins. So that's how we became friends. And today he's a very, very dear friend. Not because he read my reports, because he saw me at the ground every day. I mean, these times, yes, maybe he would have logged on to the internet and read the reports, but that's how it was. They could trust you without reading your report.
See, the difference is like back before Twitter and social media and internet in the let's say late 80s, 90s, players were highly dependent on the journalist and the print media for their side of the story or for their side of the tale to come out. They were dependent on media. Right now, they have their own platforms. You keep seeing Yuzvendra Chahal has his own TV right now, where he interviews cricketers.
Yeah.
Day before yesterday, you saw Jemima Rodriguez having her own platform and sharing post-match insights. And so those kind of things, do you think has slightly alienated a cricket journalist and the player?
No, I think what has alienated players and journalists is the match fixing episode, where if you see Ashoka, administrators have become very strict, right? They have become the wall between the players and the cricketers, players and the journalists,
True.
right? Anti-corruption.
True.
Now, it is not that they're not trusting the journalists; they're also not trusting the players. So it's the players to be blamed. And you talk like you say, this that post, fine, post match celebration or something. How is it going to appeal to you, a serious cricket reader or a serious cricket lover? How? You will still have to read the report next day.
Right. So my question came from like uh, not just the match reports, like a player's personality. Let's say, for me, it was Sachin, right? It is not just the batting that I can visually observe, and the reports that I read the next day,
Yeah.
which told me technically what happened on what was the reason for things that happened.
Huh.
There was also a personality that develops around him, like who he is and what he does and stuff like that. Those are the little insights that a journalist provides to me, or let's say pre-Twitter or pre-Facebook era.
Yeah.
These are things that we found only in match reports or only in, like, say, feature articles.
Yes.
Now, match reports have been slightly reduced to, or there is an increased pressure among journalist fraternity
Huh.
to outcompete what the players themselves can publish, right?
Huh.
In their own feed, or what the cricket boards can themselves publish on their feed. So, is that a pressure that you guys didn't feel when you were covering cricket, or that is where my question came from, earlier question?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Today's journalists face far more pressure than journalists of my generation faced, for the simple reason that the competition has increased. So, in this increased competition, you want to be different, you want to stand out, right? So, like I said, the Zimbabwe tour, only two journalists. Another time, West Indies tour, only maybe five journalists. And like there was a South Africa tour, there were 32 Indian journalists, writers, and three, four photographers. So the competition is far more today. And I am with all these youngsters of today who really have to strive to get stories. And maybe if I was their age, I also would have been struggling to come up with the story which I did so many years ago. I had the platform, I had access. Like I said in the beginning of this chat, I was extremely fortunate that the cricket to have met such cricketers and interacted with them. Today, I also would have been like today's journalists, waiting to get information from Twitter, waiting to get information from their Facebook posts. So there is increasing pressure, but like my former sports editor and one of the finest writers you would have known, Nirmal Shekhar, he never believed in scoop. He says the scoop is rubbish. For me, he says the scoop is the best report of the day. And what is that? So many people have watched Siddharth and Ashoka. So many people have watched from the press box. And you bring out something, some insight which all others have missed. He would say that is the scoop, which I think it would be nice if today's journalists they look for such stories where they can analyze, they can spot something on the ground which many would have missed. And there are some very very fine young cricket journalists today, and I don't miss their reports.
Vijay, one question though. Is there, given the changing nature of the media, one thing that people who covered cricket, say pre-2000 or pre-match fixing, as you're saying, that advantage they somehow had is because the numbers were fewer,
Yes.
they could also develop an off-field rapport with many players. And many times they would not publish what they parts of that relationship because it was personal and confidential. But what that helped in is that in the future, when they had to draw out the personality of the player, they could use aspects of what they had observed and what they had seen. Do you feel that the current generation is missing out on that personal relationship for various reasons, and hence are needing to look at the players often as people at a far remove, rather than people like you and me who are actually human beings but are excellent at their sport?
Correct. Absolutely right. Today the problem, Siddharth, is that there is no access for these young cricket journalists today. No access. You either go through the agent or manager or whatever of the player, or go through a particular PR agency promoting some product. They'll get you to interact with the player, or at the press conference. So, what question do you ask? You ask a question, everybody gets the answer.
Yeah.
So, how is he? I mean, you go with a lot of homework, you ask two questions, which the whole world laps it up. So, what has he got next day to give special to his newspaper or channel? So, here I think this access, yes, there is a wall between the journalists and the players, and which we were lucky we could connect with them. Siddharth, if I tell you, my colleague Rakesh Rao, he would go out in a place called Alwar. He, Saurav Ganguly, Rahul Dravid, going in a cycle rickshaw to watch a movie.
Wow.
Would that happen now? No. So many lunches and dinners we have had, I've had with players. It will not happen now. No chance, because of the restrictions which the administrators have put. They have their own reasons to do that. Um, and also, Siddharth, look at the size of the media. Oh, I mean, look at the channels. They are looking for they are mostly looking for negative stories. So, because they feel that is what sells. Now, players don't like it. Even old generation players, they avoid giving interviews for this very reason, because they feel they will be misquoted, or out of context. The story would be made completely out of context. So I don't blame the players. They have their own reasons, but I feel very sorry that you are doing sports journalism or cricket journalism without connecting with the actors. With how do you write about a person without knowing him, Siddharth?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, yeah.
It's not.
So I have seen fights between the players, but I've never written about it. I've shared about it, but they know it. They've seen me there, and they respect me for that. But I'll tell you, there was once a big fight between Maninder Singh and Manoj Prabhakar inside the dressing room. And I was standing at the door of the dressing room waiting for a bottle of water to be passed on to me. And then they had a huge argument. Then there was not a fight. A lot of things happened. And Mr. Bedi said, tomorrow you should be writing about it. I said, no, sir, I will not write, because I shouldn't have been there in the first place, in that area. This was a Ranji Trophy match, Siddharth, many years ago. Yeah, when they were maybe second last season of Maninder Singh. So that is how I looked at it. If I had not been there, I would never have got to know about the incident, na Siddharth?
Yeah.
But I had gone to pick up a bottle, so I saw this fight. So I don't know if I was right or wrong, but that's what I'm saying. That there is today there is no connect, or very little connect between players and the writers.
Let's talk about the connect that you would have developed in the early years. I mean, when you began, I mean, the 80s was a very good decade for cricket in Delhi. A lot of fantastic cricketers came out at that time. The Delhi Ranji Trophy team itself had some very good performances.
Yes.
Talk a bit about that, the games you saw, the players that had a big impact on you, the friendships that you developed in those years.
Friendships, yes, definitely. I mean, two of the biggest troublemakers in Delhi cricket were my dear friends Raman Lamba and Manoj Prabhakar. I got along so well with them, criticized them, but still they would come and not talk to me for 2 days, and then third day they would come and say, "Chalo, let's go and have chole kulche in Bengali market."
Okay.
So those were different times, Siddharth. Had you been in my place, you also would have experienced it. So again, I mean, at the cost of repeating, I was fortunate, but those matches were intense in the sense a Delhi Bombay match. Those days it was not Mumbai. Bombay it was like a test match.
Okay.
Like a test match. Delhi Karnataka match was like a test match. or Delhi Punjab in later years, they became very competitive games. And you could, like I said, there was quality. I'm not saying today's Ranji Trophy lacks quality, but those days, to get into the playing 11 for Delhi, Karnataka, Bombay, even Tamil Nadu, was a strong team. It used to be very difficult, and you would enjoy those games. And I learned most of my cricket watching Ranji Trophy matches because one, you could interact with the players. They would share what happened. Even during lunch session, they would share. During the lunch, they would share what happened in the first session because you would be having lunch in the same hall.
And they would tell you about the tactics and what was going on and all that.
Yes, yes. They would say, ये देखो, this umpire, इसने तो out नहीं दिया, वो plump था. Or, oh, I was lucky, I got a nick, but umpire missed it. And look at this bloody fielder we have in the team. He's dropped 2 catches. I don't know why he's there in the team. So, yeah, but it was, again, like I said, we would be part. Sometimes they would consider it part of the team, traveling with them in the train to venues, traveling with them in the same bus. Same bus. I once traveled with Delhi to Patiala with the South Zone team for a Devdhar Trophy match. Because they wanted some journalist from Delhi to accompany them. Can you imagine? Because most of them, they were scared. The match was in Punjab, na? So there was this request. So I went along.
Was this because of the unrest in Punjab at that time?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted somebody who could converse in Hindi.
Okay.
Yeah, so I and V. Sudarshan, my photographer colleague, we traveled with the team from Delhi and to Patiala, and that was one wonderful experience. 2 places we got stopped and by the police, and South Zone players thought they were terrorists because they had heard they come dressed like policemen. So that was fantastic. Like I remember, I'll tell you one incident in Baroda.
No need quickly. You can take your time also.
It was a Dulip Trophy match, and Venkatraghavan was the umpire. Vinod Kambli went to hook Manoj, got a nick, and Venkatraghavan gave him out. So Kambli stood there, indicating, rubbing his shoulder, as if trying to tell that the ball went off the shoulder. Now, Sachin was a non-striker. And it seems he told Sachin that please get Kambli to the umpire's room at lunch. Mind you, not the end of the day, lunchtime. And what was that umpire's room? It was in a tent. And we were having lunch, and Venkatraghavan was giving hell to Vinod Kambli. And not just I, the whole team, couple of other journalists, they all were privy to what Mr. Kambli learned from Mr. Venkatraghavan that day. So that will not happen today. Today, umpire's room is away from the dressing room, and only he can go, and you can't go anywhere near the umpire's room or the match referee's room. So those days, cricket covering cricket match was good fun, Siddharth. You could interact so much with the players, the coaches. I've got so many friends from the umpiring fraternity because of this. Scorers. Today, there is no scorer in the press box. You know that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for domestic cricket, no scorers. They want you to take the scores from the BCCI app.
Wow.
Imagine. So this is how it has become. But we could umpire. So many umpires are my friends even today.
Yeah, it's almost like back then in a game of cricket, in the morning you go and you could have a chat with the curator about the pitch, and then you can talk to all the groundsmen who are helping out with the preparations. Yes. And then you have the scorer, the umpires, then you have the reserve umpire. You had this whole, it was almost like a theatre crew that you could chat with before the day's play.
Yes, and And Siddharth, visiting, there were many places where we would have breakfast with the players or the umpires, right? We would have lunch with them in the same hall when the match was on. I mean, you just imagine. Someday I'll send you a picture of there's a match 1996 tour to England. The match is going on. I had to interview Dravid, so I'm sitting with him along with the players doing the interview.
In the dressing room area?
Just outside the dressing room, I and Dravid, Sidhu, Azhar, they're all in the picture. Match is going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And should I share one more incident?
Sure.
Sharjah, I was to interview Shane Warne. And so I took Anil Kumble's help. Because Shane Warne, doesn't give any interviews. So Kumble told him, you have to speak to Vijay. So he said, okay. He called me to the room, hotel. Then he said, can we do it at the ground? Ground, that day they were playing a match.
Okay.
I said, how can we do it at the ground? He said, no, you come to the ground. Siddharth, Sharjah, if you remember, press box and the dressing room, they were just a divider.
Yes.
Right? And the match began. Australia was batting. And this guy comes looking for me, he peeps and then he beckons me to the front row. So he's sitting in the extreme corner seat of the dressing room. That is the area outside the dressing room. And I am sitting on the extreme left seat of the press box and doing the interview. Imagine, and the whole press box, because they all wanted his interview, they were just watching me take the interview, and they were helpless, I mean, for me, it was a very funny situation. The whole world knew that I'm taking this interview, and look at where the match is going on.
Today, the anti-corruption unit would have immediately stepped in.
Yes. I interviewed Courtney Walsh on the ground, Mohali Test match, when Lara walked.
Yeah.
You remember Siddharth, Lara walked 94?
Yes.
And I and VV Krishnan and Courtney Walsh sitting on the boundary. Can you think it will happen today?
No, it's a different universe. It's a different universe today. Yeah.
I remember Lara walked. He was got behind. And Courtney Walsh just kept applauding him. He stood up and kept applauding him. And then the interview resumed.
Wow.
Imagine on the ground, and it's a test match.
This is like in the T20 games when they interview in the dugout, and then the player and the game is going on, something happens, and it's like that, but at a level of a print journalist and a photographer sitting in the boundary.
Imagine. VV Krishnan, of course. I mean, VV Krishnan had to be there because he's a photographer. He'll shoot from the ground only.
Yeah.
But Walsh called me. I did one Wasim Akram interview in Sharjah, again outside the boundary. He just said, come, and between overs, when he would come, he would talk to me, and then again go back to bowl, come back and talk to me, go back to field. Again, he would come to that position in front of the press box, Sharjah. I don't know if you've gone to Sharjah.
No, but I know I remember quite a bit of the press box and the boundary from the TV itself. Yeah.
Yes. You can. Correct. So those were wonderful days. And again, if you were there instead of me, you also would have said wonderful days.
So given this, Vijay, I mean, one thing that I ask all the journalists who covered cricket in that time in the 90s, given the closeness between the players and the journalists back then, why did it take so long? And was that, in fact, one of the reasons why it took so long and for the match fixing to break out? And it needed sting operations, and it needed people to, actually from the outside to come in and break it. What do you think was the reason why it didn't come out earlier?
See, it was happening. People knew it was happening. I remember that 91, when I went to Sharjah, when I came back, there was a big cover story in Sports World where Mr. K.R. Wadhwani, who is no more,
Yes.
he had done a cover story on match fixing.
In 91?
91.
Wow. That's early.
Then I said, what is this? This man, he didn't even come to Sharjah.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 91, Siddharth. And many years later, it happened. And there were always whispers. But the only thing was, how could you write it?
Without proof.
Yeah. So it needed official authorities to sort of take it up. And like phone tapping, right?
Yeah.
They could
Delhi
do it.
police. Yeah.
Delhi police. They had the authority from the court, and they could do it. I mean, they were tapping some phone from Dubai, and then they stumbled upon this. Mid-90s, yeah, there was a lot of talk, and cricketers would tell you privately.
But you couldn't write it definitively because you couldn't prove it.
No, Siddharth, you couldn't have. Yeah, you couldn't have. And how do you? People later said, "Arey, it could have been written very subtly." How do you write subtly? You tell me. How can you say? I mean, this thing. So people would say, "Oh, this match was lost." That's how you could write. It's not that the other team won. It's this match was lost.
Okay. So you put it that way. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So, and then we were not surprised, Siddharth, when it happened. When it came out, we were hardly surprised. I mean, journalists from my generation, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, you see, Pradeep magazine would always talk, okay, this is something fishy going on. Manoj Vasana, my friend, he also said, yaar, ye kaise match har gaya ye log? How could this happen? This is not good. I mean, there is something definitely fishy. But you couldn't have written it, na?
Yeah, that's true. Because then if the player takes you to court, then you have nothing to stand on.
Nothing to stand on. And also newspapers would not publish, na, Siddharth?
Yeah, that's true.
They would not. I mean, they would just not. My colleague Rakesh Rao, you know him. There are so many matches. He would tell me, look, this trend is not good. And this is what I suspect is going to happen. And it would happen. So there are a lot of people I've met who say that, no, this series was fixed. That match was fixed. But I don't know. I mean, from cricketing point of view, it was very difficult to accept. But then, yes, I mean, you also know, so many matches did look suspect.
Yeah, I think, and there was in fact one match which, I mean, I wasn't a journalist then, but I remember watching it. And when Mr. Gavaskar went mad on air, like he was so angry.
Colombo.
This was, no, I think it was Sharjah. This was after an Azharuddin run out. And then India collapsed. And Mr. Gavaskar was so angry in that press box. Like then you thought, oh, maybe there is something more to it. Because, of course, India lost the match and India used to lose many matches then. But the way he was talking, as a viewer, you felt, theek hai, kuch to ho raha hai.
Yeah, of course. I mean, see, it couldn't have been, it is not possible that they wouldn't have known, the broadcasters or like people like somebody like Sunil Gavaskar. No. He had... I mean, he would read the game quickly. Yeah, I remember once there was an extended drinks break, Siddharth, in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, and India was chasing comfortably, and he said on air that this is not good. This break, extended break, you can't have an extended break. India lost the match. So I asked him, I said, sir, why were you so this thing about? He says, no, it breaks your concentration. You're not there to have a long, extended, pretty nimbu pani drink, no? You're there to go and maintain your thing. So he was not trying to say that something was fishy, but it was a very good cricketing point.
Yeah, he is probably the best reader of the game that there has been. So he would know. He would know.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, Mr. Gavaskar and Mr. Kapil Dev. Fantastic. Even Kapil was natural, na? He everything came to him so naturally that others thought for others, like what he would try to tell a player, "Arey yaar, pitch up." But what pitch up was easy for Kapil, but not for the team, the young bowlers, because they were not up to it.
So he suffered from the. It's almost like just like Tendulkar as captain, Kapil as coach too. They were so good that they didn't realize the others couldn't do it.
Correct. Javed Miandad. You look at Javed Miandad. He also didn't prove to be a good coach, na?
Yeah.
He would just say, "Aise karo, yaar, waise karo." But what for aise karo was easy, so easy for Javed, was impossible for the young fellow. So it was. I mean, but you remember at the beginning we were talking about press box.
Yeah.
Like you remember Siddharth, typewriter.
Yes.
Writing a report on typewriter, then going to the CTO, there is a Central Telegraph Office, to push the copy. Right? So I have sent a telegram also.
Okay, for those of our listeners who have probably never heard of this word, can you just describe a bit more?
Telegram was like telegram. The office would give us a card which would allow us to send reports through telex or telegram. So a telegram given at say 6 o'clock in Rohtak would come to your office around say 9 o'clock in Delhi. So a long telegram, that would be a report. Or you book a trunk call and dictate. And the trunk call, after 3 minutes, it would disconnect.
So you call again.
You call again. So you have to depend on the telegraph office to connect. And then later years, they would, they wouldn't disconnect. They would interrupt and say, "Aapka time 3 minutes ho gaya, continue karna hai." So you would say, "Haan ji, karna hai." So it was like, I have sent many reports from impossible places because we had a gentleman in the office called Vijay Raghavan. He would ring up from once the trunk call days came or when the STD came later. He would call and take it on phone. But sending reports on telex was, my God, nightmare. And then came fax. Fax also was, again, it was a boon, but you had to depend on the line. If the line, 75% of the page would have gone, and then if the line got disconnected, again you had to send the whole page.
Yeah.
Imagine, once I went on a Kenya tour with my colleague Vivek Krishnan, we came back with just $20 in our pocket.
Wow.
Because most of the allowance was spent on fax.
Okay.
Sending a fax report from Nairobi to Chennai or Delhi, wherever. Yeah, it was a nightmare for my generation of journalists, Siddharth. We spent as much time in the CTO office as on the ground. Believe me, praying, we would pray before entering the CTO office that my report should go in quick time.
Even I am not that young, but this feels like sitting on a time machine and going into the past. I'm hearing words like telegram, trunk call after a while, after a really long while.
Yeah.
It's been a while now that I think I've picked up a pen. I mean, I sign a few things. I think occasionally that's when I pick a pen. But I think this is a time machine based stuff that I'm hearing.
And the challenge, Ashoka, was that if you were, office would say write in triple space, which means, or double space, there should be a gap. Because for them to correct when they would get the page on fax at the other end, right? For editing. But if you were good in your work, they would say, okay, single space will do. So what you would send in 2 pages, you would send in 1 page.
So that's a visual marker for experience. Is it like experienced writers or people?
Yes.
They have single space entries, whereas new joinees will have triple space entries.
Triple space, because their copy had to be, hacked or changed or rewritten or whatever. So this was an honor learned after a couple of years in the profession, that you could send in single space. But the one person who I have seen writing his report. He would write his report on a A4 paper, and not waste an inch of space. Not inch of space, and no rewriting. There was no correction on the page. You would never see a word being cut and then being written. That was Mr. Sunil Gavaskar.
Oh, very interesting.
Oh,
My God, not one overwriting for his column. He would leave 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. No, sorry, half inch at the top, half inch at the bottom. That's it. And it would end with a full stop. His daily column, I have seen him. I have faxed some of his reports, because if he had to go, he would give the copy to me and go away. I would fax it, or even my good friend Debashish Datta would fax the copies, because Mr. Gavaskar had to go someplace or wherever. He would finish his report. Not an inch was wasted.
So his columns were like his defense.
Oh my God. Yes. And for some years, I think I will be able to pull out 2 of his reports. I kept them for, as souvenirs. Clean writing, yeah. Clean writing. And how to use space. And all handwritten. He never used to type.
I guess he remains one of the few ex-cricketers to still actually write his column and not be ghosted, right?
No, he is never ghosted. Not one column has been ghosted. Not one. Not one. And once I remember, he would never delay his column, Siddharth. Never known that Mr. Gavaskar's column has come late. No chance. And writing himself, ever since his retirement, he is writing. I think Siddharth has written almost every day.
Wow. Every
day. At least 350 words. 400 words that's what I think the page would accommodate. And he was he had a very good handwriting. Amazing. I mean, thorough professional.
And if he doesn't make a single correction, it shows the clarity of thought.
That's what I'm trying to say. Not one correction. Not one correction. Oh, I mean, he was amazing. He was amazing. Wow. Yeah. He was amazing. And what a voracious reader, Siddharth. He would read. Once I was sitting in the press box, he forgot his book and left.
Okay.
So I carried the book with me and then went to his room in the evening and said, "Sir, you forgot this book." He says, "No, I'm finished. I'm done with it." I said, "But then why have you left it?" He said, "I'm done. What will I do?" I said, "Are you trying to tell me that you leave your book wherever you finish it?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Then don't leave them. Give it to me." So at that Australia tour 99, I had 6 books, all left by him. He would give it to me. 6 books.
The thing, one of the I have met him only once. That is on a personal level.
Achha.
And I was so fortunate. I mean, this was back in 2007 in England. And I was so fortunate to be able to be in a group of journalists with Mr. Gavaskar. And as you would, of course, know, that he is such a fantastic storyteller. And all it needs is for a trigger for him to be the storyteller.
Trigger, yes.
Yeah.
Trigger, yes. And he also sings. And he also plays good tabla on the table. You sing and he will accompany you with this tabla on the table.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic guy. Fantastic. And he loves sharing his experience with young people now.
I just had a question. On the surface, it's a frivolous question, but it just connects back to the match fixing thing that we were talking about and why it took so long for it to come out. My mind immediately went to in India. If you see, there are the 3 big obsessions are politics, cinema, and cricket. For the other 2 fields, there is such a journalistic avenue, though not well respected, but there is an avenue called the gossip columns, right? Where you have anonymous content slipped in.
Huh.
I usually felt that for cricket at least, there wasn't any purely from a cricket standpoint. And the only example that I could think of is very, very late in the day during the IPL. We used to have something, a blog, a famous internet entry called the Fake IPL Player. Until that happened, there is no a gossip column on a purely cricket related terms. I know that Ravi Shastri during his youth and when he used to dilly dally among the Bollywood actresses, there used to be rumors about such stuff written, and there used to be stuff about Vivid Richards as well, but nothing in cricket terms. And maybe I think that could have actually accelerated the process, or made it known to the wider public that such a thing happened. Even though I am along with Sid here that when we used to watch matches, you felt that something was fishy, but there was no written word for it. So I was thinking maybe that was one avenue, maybe how it could have come out faster.
Yeah, maybe you have a point, or maybe I think because of our passion for cricket, whether you are a journalist or a cricket fan, you didn't want to believe probably. You never thought your heroes could do such a thing, right? And
Even though hero worship is common for movies and for cricket, I think cricket had that other thing of like it was treated in a very meritorious way. You used to actually see the skills of players and how they actually performed, and you kind of knew the difficulties that they endured, and those were not make believe as that you can see in a film. So there was a kind of a worship oriented attitude towards cricket in itself, and I think cricket journalism was held to a stringent standard than film journalism or a film review. So I think that may also be the reason why it came as such a shock, right? When it actually happened.
Yeah. Because, like I said, no, you never thought your heroes could do it, and like you said, yes, the real heroes. You see them perform in front of you, and there is no retake on the cricket field. There is no retake as in cinema. And from what I heard, Ashoka, was that whole lot of film people, they would ensure that such stories were written about them so that they stayed in news.
Yep. That seems to be the SOP even today, right? Yes.
So, but cricket, yes. I mean, when it happened, when 2000, right? So till 2000, I had a great collection of cricket bats, autographed bats of the team from all my tours. And when it happened, I just threw away all the bats.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was not a journalist, I would skip dinner if Gavaskar would get out cheaply. So,
Yeah.
and I was so disgusted. I mean, it was one thing to suspect, and another thing to have to be told that yes, such a thing was happening. So I think I some 22 bats. I remember I just went and threw the bats into the big bin near our house.
So talking about match fixing, and you have, I thought I should bring out one of your friends that you've mentioned, Manoj Prabhakar. Does he remain, you feel, one of the most misunderstood characters in Indian cricket? Because, he, some people may say that what he did for match fixing was actually, vital to whistleblower, because he was the insider who was actually helping. But at the same time, others don't think that way. What are your views on Manoj through that time?
He is a very volatile guy, right? Very competitive. He would come and sort of instigate you on the field. Not instigate, what provoke you.
In fact, Imran Khan said he's the closest India have to a Pakistani cricketer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, Raman Lamba was also accused. There were so many people who all were there during this match fixing episode. Jadeja was accused.
Jadeja, yeah. Ajay Sharma,
yes, he was banned. Manoj
Nikhil
was
Chopra.
banned. Nikhil Chopra was not. There was No action
Accused.
Huh. So the whole lot of accused. Now, where did the accusations come from? Who made those accusations, right? That we never knew. Where? Only this thing was that Manoj Shubhakar went on air, accused Kapil Dev, right? And then it is your word against mine. Who do you believe?
Correct.
Who do you believe? You think Kapil would have done such a thing? Or do you think Manoj was trying to get back at Kapil Dev? Very difficult question, Siddharth. And I don't know, personally, it was always going to be difficult to prove because there is no match fixing, anti match fixing law also in our country.
Correct.
So that was, otherwise, there's so many matches, yeah. So many matches, journalists would openly talk in the press box, आज तो India हारेगा. So आज तो India हारेगा, but how? But then India would lose also.
Then, but what do you write? How do you say it? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you put it? Yeah, because I remember Siddharth, there was one match in Sharjah where Sri Lanka lost Pakistan lost wickets quickly in the first 10 overs. I think they lost 4 wickets or something. And we were told by these volunteers, in the press box. So there was one particular volunteer who was very well informed. He said, "Sir ji, aaj sare book cancel ho gaye." Because they thought this match is fixed. Sri Lanka has lost 4 wickets.
You mean Pakistan?
Against Pakistan. So, no, Pakistan has lost 4 wickets. So, bets cancel ho gaya ji. They're saying, and there was this story of Imran asking his players to put their hand on the Quran and say, bet in favor of, put their bets in favor of Pakistan. So, how do you, I don't know how to believe. Somewhere true, but like I said, yes, how could you write? But one gentleman who was always convinced was Pradeep Magazine. Yeah. In fact, if you remember, he did a story also from
West Indies. Yes.
Somebody approached, or is here he approached Pradeep to take him to Sachin.
Yeah.
So Pradeep suspected. I remember that man. He was from London actually. He was a banker. And he also came with us. He would be on some of the flights with us. And I think he was the person, if you were Siddharth in one of the matches, he jumped onto the ground.
Okay.
So one of the one-day matches.
Okay.
Yes, in the West Indies. So, but it would have been very easy to catch him because his name would have been there in the what do you call it, immigration section, na?
Correct.
At Guyana. That's where they said he was doing it at Guyana. What is that? Guyana capital? Georgetown.
Georgetown. Yeah.
So
I'll link the Pradeep's book, Not Quite Cricket. Everyone should read that book because it details Pradeep's experiences of from '97 and talks about the match fixing time and all that. Yes. So I'll link to that. But I must get to this before. Of course, I want to talk to you about the tours that you've covered and the various matches. But before that, I have to talk about my favorite piece that you wrote. It brought a tear to my eye. It was the obituary of Raman Lamba that you wrote. And even today, you won't believe it, that whenever talk of Raman Lamba comes, there are so many people who remember that piece. And the very last 2 lines of that piece, when you had said, he always dressed young, thought young, and played young. Alas, he died young.
Yes.
And I cannot forget those 2 lines. It was so beautiful and poignant. Tell us about Raman. Tell us how it was to get that news.
Oh, Raman Lamba was a dear friend. And I spent so much time with him in local cricket, And he was a big star. He was obviously doing well for Delhi, North Zone, and then he played for India. Then he would go and play in Bangladesh or in Ireland. And he was a friend, He gave me so many bats because for our journalist matches, he was, believe me, a very kind-hearted man, And he used to play good football, Siddharth. if not cricket, he definitely would have played football for India.
The Dhoni before Dhoni.
Yes. And he loved the competition, he loved taking on the authorities. He hated these officials. People, a non-cricketer coming as manager, he never liked it. He said, why? Why can't a cricketer come as manager? Why do we need this man to come with us? We can all travel on our own. We can go to our room on our own. We can handle the hotel bookings on our own. So he was fearless. He was fearless and always, if you would see it, always in a hurry. He would come to the nets. He was always wanted to bat first. He would always want to have the first knock at nets. Delhi practice, India practice, North Zone practice, or college practice, or club practice. And he would spend hours training, running, and talking about cricket. Left to him, he would have played all 365 days. Every day he would love to play a match. And he had this fondness to get to 25, then 50, then 75, then 100. Then
Okay.
And Siddharth, I cannot prove it, but there were matches when he would, at the Kotla, he would walk out at the Palam or say or wherever. Then he would say, "Mera 50 likh lena, maybe 100 bhi likh lena aaj." And he would tell me, he used to call me Don. And he said, "You are bloody Don of journalism, either." Then I used to call him, "You are Don. You are also Don," because they used to call him Don in Bangladesh, na? For his this thing. So he said, "Don." He would tell me, "Ki thoda acha sa words, keep some good words from the dictionary, on your report on me today." And he would get 100. He would be so confident after seeing the pitch, the attack, and his own form or his confidence. And once I remember, Siddharth, there was he had to dive in the outfield, so his shirt was soiled, and the trousers also. And this Johnny changes his thing at tea break.
Okay.
He comes out. And I said कि रमन एक सेशन के लिए तू क्या चेंज करके आया, सुबह पहनना चाहिए था. He says, no, I should look good always. And his dress sense, if you see, and he was dapper,
Yeah, he was like a hero.
Hero. You would see him on the field half the time when he was free. Whenever he would be free, he would be, tending his hair, Maybe
and those nice long locks of hair.
He would be playing with the hair, and then he would be, he was ahead of times, and he could play those T20 shots in a 3-day, 4-day match here. Cut to 6 over point, favorite shot. He would drive over extra cover for a 6.
In fact, Vijay, you can confirm to me, but somebody has told me, I forgot exactly who, that he, in fact, even played the helicopter shot.
He did. Yes, he did. You're absolutely right. I don't know who told you, but at the modern school, Lal Raghuveer cricket, he would play so many times because the square leg boundary was hardly 25 yards.
Okay.
It was such a ground, but the other boundaries were longer. So he would, if you would bounce him, he would play the shot to the square leg where they were all actually tailoring shops, of the modern school. So he did play those shots, and but very sad. I mean, the way my last conversation with him. Siddharth, we came out of the Firusha Kotla, and he walked towards his car, and I walked towards my scooter, 2-wheeler, a Bajaj Chetak.
Okay.
He said, Don, this is too much, man. Now you should be going around in a car, man. I said, no, I can't afford. And I'm happy with my 2-wheeler. So maybe a week before that, he had taken me to his house, where the one which is now in litigation, the government is going to demolish them.
Okay.
Near Faridabad, it's a green belt.
Hmm.
And he showed me his house. It was like a greenhouse. So much of greenery, man, inside the house, outside the house. And he said, "Look, Vijay, this is my proud possession. This is what I've earned this lovely house." Chalo ji, we came back, and then this comment he said made about scooter. He said, "You should not be driving a scooter now. You should be going around in a car." And Siddharth, a few days later, my car arrived, but unfortunately, I could never show it to Raman. Because after that match, he went to Bangladesh.
Oh no.
He was to go to Chennai and he went to Bangladesh, Dhaka. And we didn't know because the match was in Chennai. Then we realized that then he said, "Nahi, mera daant, I have a toothache, so I have to show it to the dentist." So I pulled out. Actually, he was going to Dhaka because they had offered him a big big offer that was to play that match, very important match.
Yeah, they used to pay the players a lot for those games. Yeah.
Yes. So he flew to Dhaka, and that's it. And then suddenly, Tarak Sina, I remember, I got a word that you have to call Tarak Sina. I called him. No mobile days, na. So there was. I called him at his landline number, and he said, "Yaar, quickly find out कि Raman को ball लग गया and he's been badly hurt." I said, "Where?" He said, "Dhaka." I said, "Well, what is he doing in Dhaka? He should be in Chennai." He said, "No, he went to Dhaka." I said, "But he said toothache and all. He has not gone with the Delhi team," and that's it. So unfortunate. My last conversation was this, and I remember I can still see him. He going in his car, and that's it. I mean, he could never see my car.
How hard was it to write that piece?
Oh, very, very hard. Siddharth, I went to the airport when his body arrived. Prabhakar was there, and of course, Tarak Sena, his coach, and so many people at his house. And then, of course, the funeral. And then this, I had to write this. So it was very sad. Writing this guy's obituary, somebody who just few days ago wanted me to move around in the city in a car. It hurt. It hurt, definitely hurt. And he was a fantastic student. He could, Siddharth, I've seen very few cricketers who could reach the pitch like him. Like he would read a pitch. We all knew how legendary Lala Amarnath was.
Yeah.
Reading a pitch, but I think Raman Lamba was just too good. Just too good. Like Sidhu was supposed to be the best weatherman,
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
The fellow would tell you 3 days in advance कि third day बारिश आ जाएगा. So similarly, Raman Lamba was amazing reader of the game. Amazing. Yeah. He was, and a wonderful man to go around with. Once they were coming back from Una, and there was just one train. Manoj Prabhakar and Raman Lamba. They ensured that the train halted for them.
Okay.
For them, and from the ground, these two Johnnies ran and caught the train. Believe me, from Una to Delhi.
Wow.
Delhi, and the train they I think they organized it with somebody in the railways, and they probably knew the driver or whatever. And I'm told that the train waited 10 minutes. These Johnnies went from the ground, rushed to the not even to the railway station, not even to the railway station. Maybe a kilometer from the railway station, the train stopped close to the ground.
Oh, wow.
Imagine. Manoj Prabhakar and Raman Lamba. They could have done such things.
Seems to be they were, a lot of movie scenes in their lives.
Arey baapre. Yeah. And they were the best of friends, and they were the best of fighters. Every second day they would have a a fight with each other, short of coming to blows, and end it with a dinner that night.
So, coming to your trips, the first tour that I remember of you, the articles that I remember is from the 1992-93 tour of South Africa.
Yes.
Was that your first trip abroad, or had you covered something before that?
No, 89 before the main tour to Pakistan, did one Delhi versus United Club, United Bank or United Club match. Remember? Ranji champion from India.
Correct. The first time it happened.
It happened in Lahore. Yes. Waqar Younis played his first match. That's where Imran Khan saw Waqar Younis.
Oh, interesting.
The Delhi boys were coming back and says, "Arey baap re, itna tez bowler." Yeah.
Okay, so you saw Waqar in that match. Okay.
Yes. I saw Waqar, and KB Bhaskar played a fantastic knock to help Delhi win. But and then of course Sharjah, 91 I went.
Okay.
I and Manoj Vatsan, and then of course South Africa. Yes, South Africa I went with a lot of preparation because we had heard so much Siddharth. All those names were legendary names, na? Pollock brothers, Barry Richards. I mean, you had heard Eddie Barlow, and that's where I met Conrad Hunt at Johannesburg. He'd become some born-again Christian, and he wrote down a poem for me on a piece of paper. I still have it.
What was he doing he was the match referee or something?
No. I think he was there to preach or, I don't know.
Oh, okay. He was a pastor. Okay.
Yes. So he happened to be at the ground and somebody told me he's Conrad Hunt and then I remember Durban Test match.
Yes.
I did one interview with sorry Siddharth, memory, that great our West Indies umpire.
Steve Buckner.
And Buckner said, Buckner, third umpire and all that. If you remember from that match?
Yes. The first time the third umpire was there. Yeah.
He said, I'm not going to refer to the third umpire. And I wrote that. And then there was another story. I remember when at the gate, this guy, the volunteer, he saw my card. He said, "Oh, you're a journalist from India." I said, "Yes." So he said, "I have a story for you." I said, "What?" He said, "You see the tall gentleman there?" I said, "No, I don't know him." He said, "Oh, they've not given him a ticket." I said, "Who is he?" But he said, "Colin Bland."
Oh, wow, the best fielder.
Colin Bland. South African Cricket Board had not given him a pass.
Oh, wow.
The Durban Test match. And he was standing there, So then I went and spoke to him. And that story, of course, it should be there in the archives, Hindu archives, where he said, they've not given me a ticket to this thing. So he was waiting. Somebody had gone to buy a ticket for him to get in. And that was a fantastic tour.
So I remember, I think I once spoke to Suresh Saraya, the late Suresh Saraya, about that tour. He was there too. Yes. And he said before the first ball was bowled in Durban, that basically the first ever test in South Africa after readmission, he said the atmosphere was so electric that he actually began to cry in the press box because that was how happy the moment was for him. How was it? How was that atmosphere that day?
Oh, Bapre, it was because he got the privilege of describing the first ball, na?
Yes.
And on the radio. So he and Harsha.
Yes.
And I remember Harsha and Suresh Bhai, we spent a lot of time together. Going to the ground together, coming back together because we could share the taxi paisa,
Yeah.
So it would help. Then we'll go out for dinner together. There was only cricket talk. And so listening to Saraya, not forget on the radio, outside the radio, Siddharth, was an education year. That guy would come with such preparation, amazing knowledge of players. And yes, he did cry. and I developed a very, very special relationship with him. He was like a tour father, and I would make his bag. I would help him unpack, because we almost stayed in the same hotels right through the tour, and he would do the commentary, and Siddharth, he would write some reports for 4 different Gujarati papers. He was a legend, and he and of course Harsha, they made a fantastic pair, and it was a great tour, and meeting a whole lot of cricketers, seeing first world, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the kind of cricket infrastructure we saw was mind blowing, an eye opener. Of course, people who traveled to Australia and England knew it, but for me, I'd been to Pakistan, India, and Sharjah, so it was a fantastic tour where again our one of our guides was Mr. Gavaskar.
Okay.
He was there. He was there, and he would guide us. He would tell us about South Africans. He would come and spend time with us. He would twice he came out for dinner with us. It was very nice of him. Then he would come up with so many anecdotes, right? And Mr. Dungarpur was there on the tour. Raj Singh Dungapur, he was there. Wadekar himself was a fantastic, he was like a father figure. Absolutely father figure. He would share so many details with me in good faith. And journalists would say, "Oh, this man is Wadekar's adopted son or what?" He was very fond of me, and I also respected him. I mean, I respected him for his cricket, for his help. He would take us out, and Siddharth, he would teach cricket. Actually, he taught cricket. Mr. Gavaskar taught us cricket, and even Rasing Dangapur, whatever you say, he loved his cricket. You must have met him so many times, Siddharth. Rajbhai.
Yeah. So many times. I mean, I was in Mumbai for nearly 7 years. And Rajbhai was a regular feature. You go to CCI and it's hard to come out because Rajbhai would be telling you stories. And even if you had a deadline, it is difficult to get away because you have to listen. You're listening to his great stories.
True. What a wonderful person, What a wonderful.
Yeah. Clayton, in fact, I had Clayton on the show, and he was saying one of the biggest regrets is Rajbhai never wrote a book because he had material for 100 books.
True. Very true. And I think nobody on this earth will have more cricket anecdotes than Clayton Murzello.
Yeah, that is also true. Yeah.
Very nice, very dear friend.
So, talking about that it was very interesting to hear you talk about sharing the cab and having dinner with fellow journalists and things, and then you written a piece a little while ago about the '97 tour to West Indies, where you had mentioned how V.V. Krishnan, the photographer, used to cook for the players.
Yes.
And was that? I guess that was something that used to be common in those days, right? When players couldn't have much good food when they used to travel in many places abroad.
Oh yes, especially it was a problem for vegetarians, now. So VVK we would carry. He had a heater, all-purpose heater, where he could cook for 10 people. And it was a small bloody thing, You could never have imagined that he would cook dinner for 10 people on that little heater. Small piece of this thing. And we would carry rice. He would make rajma of beans. Red beans, right?
Red beans. Yeah.
Red beans. He would make rajma. Then he would make some sambar. We would carry pickles from India. It was great fun. I mean, people coming and one of the players cutting onions, one of the players laying out the dishes, one of the players doing dishes later. Kumble would never came empty-handed. He would either bring rice or he would bring vegetables. He never imposed, but not that others were not. Others also would contribute. Bringing beer, or bringing some red wine or white wine or whatever. But it was great fun. I mean, enjoying with them, chatting with them, and on match days, Siddharth, they would have played the match during daytime. I mean, whatever, and then by say 7:30, we would all sit together and eat V.V. Krishnan's sambar rice, yeah, curd rice and pickles, and that was good. That was good fun. And
So back in the day, back in those days, there used to be quite a bit of criticism about player fitness and about their fielding and how India was far behind, say, countries like Australia. But all these were factors that needed to be considered, right? Because the board didn't have the capacity to send like a army of cooks for the players, and it was a difficult time for them as well in terms of health and nutrition.
Siddharth, there was a time when the BCCI was mulling sending a cook along because they had heard stories of people coming and taking the players to their homes, but that was nothing to worry about. Believe me, I and VV Krishnan, we have gone on innumerable such dinners along with the players. Indians settled overseas.
Yeah, in fact, in that 98 tour to New Zealand, Sachin writes about how a Patel family helped them a lot.
Yeah, Mori Patel.
Yes.
Yeah, he would drive down 100 miles, Siddharth, bringing food. And I remembered I did the diary, and who was the physiotherapist of the team? I remember, or trainer that. I forget that name. So he was carrying one of
not Ali Rani, right?
No, not Ali Rani. The one after Ali Rani.
Oh, okay.
Lipas.
Lipas.
So Andrew Lipas, right?
Yes.
He was carrying one of the big dish of rice, and VV Krishnan clicked. So he came and requested, "Don't put this picture in the tour diary." So we changed it. But Mori Patel was a fantastic cricket supporter for the Indian team.
Is he still around? I wonder if he's still around.
I don't know, because
it would be interesting if an Indian journalist now could find him out and talk to him.
Actually, yes, somebody should. They should, but I don't know if he has access to. He must have grown very old now, Siddharth.
Yeah, he might have been old. Yeah.
How many years? Gone. Yeah. That time
nearly 20 plus years.
That time itself, he was nearing 60.
Okay.
Yeah. So he must be very old now. But interesting. It's a good thing. I'll check. I'll check if he still comes to the ground or practice.
Yeah, maybe. And 97 tour to West Indies we have spoken about. So we have to talk about the game after which this podcast takes its name. You were telling us about the Barbados test and about the last day before we started recording. But can you tell us about how it was on that last day?
Yeah, I remember 2 for no loss, right? India.
Yeah.
And then 2 for no loss. So I was supposed to have dinner with Sachin after the game, right? Next day.
Okay.
And so we went 2 for no loss. We thought, chalo, a win in West Indies. Coming to the ground next day, we were in the cab, and I and VV Krishnan and this guy who used to drive us to the ground for the match. Just we had booked a taxi for us for the whole Barbados sector. So there was this phone-in show where Michael Holding was the guest, and people were calling in to know about the match, and Holding kept on saying that he was giving cricketing reasons why India would struggle to, make those runs.
120, yeah.
120 to win, so 118 that day.
Yeah.
118 runs, whatever. And I and VV Krishnan were wondering, what is 118? 118. So when we got down, and then Vivek Krishnan in anger, he told that driver to switch off that station. He said this man is only talking of West Indies winning. And then as we were entering, I still remember Vivek Krishnan said, "Yeah, you never know because it's Michael Holding saying this." So, and then as you know, how wickets fell, how we lost the match, and I remember I went to West VV Krishnan, and we were watching together from the not from the I was not in the press box, I was on the ground level with him, and he said, "Look, Vijay, what this fellow said is turning out to be true." Michael Holding, and then it became. I mean, we saw it unfolded in front of us. India lost the match. Incredible. I mean, we just and it was. Someone said, "Oh, fixed match." It wasn't. I mean, that was cheap talk. They bowled superbly, and it was just the West Indies bowling. I won't say bad, incompetent Indian batting because they were too good. That Franklin Rose, what a spell he produced! Fiery spell, um, and I remember as after the game, it was I looked at Sachin because I knew dinner is gone.
Yeah, dinner is gone.
So he did a thumbs up sign, which means just to convey that yes, it is. He wanted me to come, and I went. If you remember, I had written also Siddharth. He broke down.
Yes, he broke down. You had written that, yes.
Yeah, and I went to his. I remember meeting Sidhu outside. So it was a resort, a very expensive resort where they were staying. And I saw Sidhu outside. He said, "Ki, Hare, aap kya kar rahe?" I said, "Ki, kar rahe nahi, I have to meet this our captain." He said, "Don't even go." I said, "Yeah, I'm supposed to meet him." But still I went. Of course, we didn't have dinner. There was no question of dinner, but I met him. I spent a good time with him, and his wife was there, Anjali. She was also concerned because she thought he was taking too much upon himself. He thought probably he had let down, but what could he alone could have done? Na? He went to a great catch, and that Sidhu ball you talked about,
Yeah.
he could have done nothing. He just could have done nothing. So
Yeah, the pitch was a beast of a pitch.
beast, and then they were not going to give us a loose ball, yeah. They were just fired up, and of course, I mean, it was just they were India was destined to lose, and it was a bad day. It was a bad day, and Sachin went without dinner. I went without dinner. Because by the time I got back, it was too late.
Yeah.
It would be 23 years next month, I think.
Oh, acha, okay. Oh.
I remember only month. I remember it very clearly because back in India, I was still in school, and that was March is kind of exam times. So we had to get special permission, me and one other friend, because West Indies tours, it meant that he came and slept over in our place because we had TV and he didn't. And New Zealand, you sleep and you wake up early and you watch. So you have to get permissions in both houses to do such activities. So there were like two 12 or 13-year-olds crying in the night. Oh. This was post dinner. Just, the first session, the match, I think the match got over early second session, I think. So I think my mother and father were quite startled that there were two young people in the hall crying. They came rushing in to see what the hell happened. And then we explained like India lost, and we got scoldings on top of the loss. Oh. You're waking up the entire neighborhood with this.
Yes.
So I kind of, that was a deep impression So West Indies tours, that one, and much later when Hooper was the captain, when
2002.
and him and Shivnarayan Chandrapal never looked like getting out. That
Oh,
was another very, very painful series for me. Not specifically like this. It was not a sharp pain. I couldn't remember it, but the entire series I kept thinking, why won't anybody get out? What are we doing?
correct.
And Vijay, you covered that too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
But I must ask you, 97. Sorry, Ashoka, you were saying.
No. This was, I think, was this post the 300 that Jayasurya made, or two?
No. It was before.
Much before, right?
Yeah.
Because those
That
three.
was 97, na?
Yeah, 97.
This was also right. Yeah. But that entire year went in so much painful memories, man. So because even that 300 was 300 with Jayasurya and 200 from Mahanama. Our school used to end at 4 o'clock. We used to come running, and then I saw Nilesh Kulkarni's first wicket. That was the end of the day's play. I was so happy that India made 500 and we got a wicket. And I was sure that we were going to win. And then every day after that day, when I used to come back from school, it used to be so horrible. And it was not just that. It was like our school had a fantastic neighbor behind our school who used to have these long, tall coconut trees where he used to hang a cardboard box and a cardboard strip, and he used to write scores every 2 hours. So he used to go to the school fence, he used to look at those coconut trees and used to see the score. And we were not very sure what was happening because there was no wicket falling. And the score kept on going from 34 for 1 to 100 for 1, 200 for 1, 300 for 1. We thought he was playing some prank, and then we went back home and that was the score. And then the next day there was no wicket. And then the next day, I think Jayavardhane hit 100 there. I think Ranatunga made a 50. De Silva made 100. I don't know, but
everyone made hundreds.
Yeah,
Siddharth, we were staying at the Taj Samudra, and if I remember, if I'm not wrong, there were for 2 days no wicket fell.
Yeah.
Correct. So yeah,
that first day when no wicket fell, or maybe one wicket fell, whatever. When I went and I asked for my room key, this receptionist, she came up and said, "Hello, sir. What is the score today?" Score. And next day, same again. And next day, when I again went, of course, much later, again she came up and said, "Sir, here's your key. What is the score today?" Then I realized she knew the score. she was
just trying to take your trip.
Remember the painful day.
Yeah, it was miserable. Like, because our school also mirrored a test match kind of feel, right? After the first 2 periods, you get a 15-minute break. Then you have a proper huge lunch, and then you get a 15-minute break in the second half of the day. So every time there used to be a bunch of kids who used to run to that coconut tree to see the score. And it was devastating. We were so miserable, and then you have to come back to the classes again. So it was. So I kept remembering as you talked about that 81 all out, so bunch of such associated memories. The only time then, after all of that and the match fixing, the only time then hope started coming back up was, I distinctly remember, is when Yuvraj and Kaif had that partnership. That seemed to be a seminal moment for me, at least. I don't know. It looked like, yeah, Sachin is out, Dravid is out, Ganguly is out. At that point, even Sehwag was out. There are new players. These guys can do anything.
Correct. Yes. I know. I mean, but of course, if you remember those days, it was such fun reading all the match reports. Whoever was writing, you would get a proper match report.
Yeah.
And even now, those match reports are, they keep coming up. In fact, on Twitter, you find a few collectors who have collected Sportstar and magazine for many years. Yeah. And every now and then they will take a photo and they'll post it. And it's very interesting to read those reports and those diaries even today, because it gives you, that is the only source we have, right? Because back then that was what was there. Now, of course, if you want to look back at 2010, you have many more sources. But for the 90s, there were few magazines back then, not that many people covering. So it's always nice to go back to them.
Siddharth, if you go back and count the wordage, our Ranji Trophy report would be 1,000 words.
Yeah.
A match report of a one-day match could be 1,200 words. Test match could be 1,200 to 1,400 words.
Wow.
Yeah, it is there. You could see them in archives. Half-page reports, which is of course unthinkable today.
Yeah, I mean, though today, in fact, ironically, today with the internet, you have unlimited space.
Yeah.
So you can, but I think people now, the difference is that because everyone has almost seen the match, people are trying to give something different. At least that is the feeling. I don't know what your thoughts on it is. Should they be doing that, or is there still a space for the traditional match report?
Of course there is. If I'm buying a newspaper, Siddharth, I'm buying to read, isn't it?
Correct. Yes.
I'm not spending money to just see the headlines. I want to read. That is why I'm buying a newspaper. Otherwise, fine. Even though, Siddharth, you would remember in your days, you would have watched the game, you would have written your report, right? But you still want to read next day. I'm sure, Ashoka, you also must be. Even if you watch the match next day, you would still want to see what those journalists have written from the ground.
Yeah. So the flip side of that is there are many match reports, right? Like now, I get to read if I want to choose, I get to read about some match that's happening in the Big Bash or the PSL. I want to know what is happening there. Who are the upcoming players in any format? 1,200 or 1,400 word match report. It is possible to write it, but the pressure of that being read, and because that becomes now a metric for a journalist's performance, and how the number of clicks and all that, when all of those factors come into play, I think there is a pressure to write it entertainingly a little bit. And I see that creeping in Cricinfo commentary and Crickbuzz commentary as well, because I read them as well. Even though I have a match running in front of me, I read Crickbuzz commentary and Cricinfo commentary. There is, you can see that there is a push to keep things interesting. So there is a slight bit of exaggeration, which sometimes lets you get carried away. There is a passage of play, interesting or not interesting. There are certain functional elements that needs to happen. But, you can add a little bit of flavor on top of it, but at times what happens, that functional element itself is missing. It's just the flavor that is there. It is just the toppings that is there.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that, the fine line between an entertaining report and an informative report. And a lot of people just want the information, like what happened, describe what happened, how did he bowl, how was his line and length, what was the strokes like, what was the thinking, what was the approach. But a lot of people now bring in that extra element of, not only adding, but also adding opinion or adding some color and often adding too much color. So I think that is what is the fine line to draw for any journalist, right?
And it is acceptable. I mean, not acceptable. I mean, it is understandable in days of radio, right? When there is no visual input for the majority of people. And you are dependent on the radio commentary, and you're dependent on the match reports to draw a picture of what happened.
Yes.
But these days, when people have access to more content than they can handle, the function of a guy trying to explain what actually happened rather than show emotions over what happened is kind of important.
Fair enough. But I would still say that if you were reporting a match, I would have my faith in you. Maybe I may have seen the match, but I may not have seen the match through your eyes now. And I can't be always right. just because I have seen the match. That
True,
is also, there are, I will give, see, after a period of time, Siddharth and Ashoka, you would agree that you tend to develop a relationship with the particular cricket writer. So you want to go back to him and know if your judgment is the same as his judgment. If he has seen the game as you have seen. So there are times, I mean, I can share with you, I would try to, suppose if the bowling side was up, the fielding side, I would try to become the batsman at the crease, right? And then from there, look at in my perspective as a batsman at the crease, or if I'm seeing a opposition batsman is doing very well, then I would become the captain of the fielding side, and think differently, So it would also, I would sit and realize that, oh, what I was thinking is that's what the captain has done, right? Or maybe that's how I should handle this bowler. So that's how this batsman is also handling this bowler, playing him more on the front foot, or playing more on the back foot, or trying to play shots against him to unsettle him. So these are all very interesting things. But over a period of time, I'm sure you would develop faith in not just maybe one, maybe couple of cricket writers, and trust their judgment also, because they would be watching every ball.
Yep.
Yeah,
even if you don't, and I think the relationship then reaches a stage where very often you may not even agree with some of their assessments or opinions, but you still respect it because you feel like they are doing it with honesty.
Yes.
That they are not just doing it for the sake of gaining some attention, but okay, you say, okay, I don't think what he's saying is right, but I still continue to read him because I'm enriched by his reports.
And similarly, there will be times when he would be right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He would be wrong.
Of course, yeah.
So
yeah, you give him that allowance. Yeah.
Yes, and we have been thinking. We have to at some point understand that they are also working under pressure. People are, like you say, people have watched it on television, so they have to be different. Maybe be colorful, but not to the point where you lose perspective, right? And you have to understand what is a mediocre contest and what is an average contest, or what is a fascinating contest. Not every test can be written in the same way as VVS Lakshman's 281, right? Can you write every match like that? No, you can't. You can't.
Then the 281 loses its significance.
Absolutely. And also the 81 all
out. Exactly.
81 and 281.
But I have a question here. How do you know? Because you have to see, now we know that an 81 all out or a Lakshman's 281 are quite significant in the way that it is in context, right? But it is in retrospective. But while writing the match reports, how do you know that this is going to be one of the significant markers, or the piece that you're writing, may it be a match report or a feature, is going to be how do you know implicitly that you have witnessed something very significant?
Because you have been part of it. Yeah, if you were at the venue, you would understand, what I'm saying, that Australia had an upper hand, and then we had a day where Dravid and Lakshman batted the whole day against a very intense bowling attack, and how they came back, and then how Harbhajan bowled on the last day, when most of the people thought, oh, an Australian win is what it is, and you are part of the audience. There are people cheering for an Indian win. Every wicket is giving you hope. Giving you hope means the spectators, not me, not in the press box. I am neutral. I'm just trying to look at the finer points, making my notes, and then thinking, if India wins, how will my copy progress? Or if Australia wins, how will my copy progress? So I'll share a secret. 3 World Cup India-Pakistan match, if you remember.
Of course.
Pradeep Magazine and I sitting next to each other. So Pradeep said, "Hey, what do you think?" I said, Pakistan winning. So he said, "Sure." I said, "Yeah." So we wrote a copy ready that Pakistan is winning. So first 4 paras were written. And then it changed. Yuvraj, Kaif, Dravid, they swung the game. And then because of the laptop, we could have 2 screens, one India winning, one Pakistan winning.
Yeah.
Correct. So, but that was poor. That was poor cricket judgment, if you to tell you very honestly, because it was wrong to sort of accept that Pakistan is going to win, because which means I had not read the depth of the Indian batting lineup. I'd forgotten about Kaif and Yuvraj's capability to swing the game. So that was a lesson learnt. But going back to 281, the way he batted, the way Dravid batted, and the way they batted the whole day, and the vibes, they say in the press box also, they were saying we are going to watch something today as Australia started losing wickets. And at the end of it, you realized, it was a big challenge now to write. So some of us out of experience, we had made some points. So we developed our points and then could manage to send a report. And I remember it was 7 o'clock by the time I finished, because I had to go down and meet Lakshman, right, after this match. And my boss was waiting in the office. So and then as I in fact it was Calcutta, so I could walk to the office and write my report. And there was a message, call sports editor. I called him. He said, "Why is your report late?" I said, "Sir, this is this. It's such excitement. I had to meet Lakshman." But the truth was that he was waiting in the office to read my report before he left.
Okay.
So he was not pressurizing me, and I was not missing deadline. He was just keen himself. He had watched the match, but he was also keen to see what I wrote, what I was going to write in my copy.
And if I've heard stories, Vijay, you can confirm that apparently on day 2, when India collapsed, and they were on day 2 or day 3, that some journalists in the press box were convinced that this match will finish on day 4 and changed their tickets to travel on day 5. Is that true?
One fella left, but don't ask me his name. He booked himself on Rajdhani back to Delhi, and he left.
So he missed the 5th day.
He missed. He watched. I think he watched an hour. Then he had to leave because he has to get back to the room and be at the railway station. I think 4 o'clock was the train.
Okay.
Yes. So he didn't watch. You are absolutely right. You also know the name. I also know the name.
So talking about Ashoka's questions, very interesting. I think Vijay, the other aspect that comes into play is also experience, right? I mean, the more cricket you watch, the more the vibes come to you. You know that something special is going to happen, and when something special happens, the more you have watched cricket, you almost feel it within you.
Absolutely, Siddharth. And see, the first day of any match, especially an international match, believe me, in my career, I have not missed the first ball.
Okay, yeah.
Whether a local match, or a trophy match, or a test match, or an international one-day match, whichever match. If I was an assignment, So there is something of, especially a test match, you go there 2 hours before the first day, you take your seat in the press box. You have to go early to get the best seat, right? And you watch the ground fill, spectators coming, taking up their seats, the ground staff coming, the markings on the ground. Then slowly you see the 2 teams arriving, catch practice, running, and then umpires coming onto the ground watching. Then there's the toss, then the fields come out. players come out, and then the match begins. So that whole process has prepared you for the day's play.
Yeah.
Slowly you see the ground filling up, right? From an empty stadium when you had entered to a packed house. So much of noise, whether India wins or loses. And then when you finish the report, if it's a day night match or a test match, the whole crowd is gone. It's empty stadium. You're still writing your report, right? And it's I've seen this fortunately right through my career, and I've loved every part of it, being involved with the game. And like you say, yes, the question was about experience. There is no end to watching, and this was what I learned from my senior colleague KP Mohan, who said the only way to learn sport is by watching at the ground. At the ground, Siddharth, it gives you a different perspective than a television screen. Yes, I can't be at Melbourne to watch every match, so I have to watch it on TV. But if I can be at the Firozshah Kotla, na? So you have to watch at the ground if you want to learn and enjoy a sport. You have to get the whole field in front of you, not the small the square which you get to see mostly on the television. So yes, experience helps you a lot.
Yeah, in fact, in 2003, I remember watching an India-Australia test in Bangalore. That was my first test that I covered as a reporter. And Peter Roebuck was there. I mean, the veteran writer from Australia, sadly no more. Yes. But yeah, he was there. And I still remember that there was one moment where, he was picking up a cup of tea, or he was just getting himself a cup of biscuits. And, at just about that point of time, Glenn McGrath was going to come back into the attack. And he just quickly got the tea, got the biscuits, and came back. And then for the whole over, or for the whole spell, he was just wrapped in attention. And that turned out to be a very important spell for McGrath. And it also turned the match a bit. And, I didn't ask him about it because I didn't want to disturb him. But it sort of taught me that he somehow instinctively felt that something important is going to happen and he couldn't miss it. And I think that comes with age and experience.
Oh, yes. And, if you remember talking to Peter Roebuck, you would be seeing him and he would be seeing the ground.
Yeah, that's true.
He would never be looking at you. He'll only be watching the 22-yard square on the ground and talking to you without looking at you.
Yeah.
He would not miss a ball. And I remember there was this young fellow, I said, Peter is a very good reporter. You know what he asked me? Does he watch the first ball?
Oh.
Yes, it's there. Nirmal asked me to write an obit on Peter Roebuck when he passed away. And I wrote in that. For him, a good journalist was to be judged by if he watched the first ball. That was his first question. Imagine. I mean, that's, of course, discipline. You must be referring to the discipline. So,
but one incident that comes to mind, that we spoke about the 97 tour to West Indies, and a headline that people still remember is Noel Who.
Noel Who. Yeah.
So, you remember? You obviously can you tell us about that? When Noel David was selected for the Indian team
in place of Srinath.
In place of Srinath, and you were the one who went and told Sachin about it, right?
He was, and it was, who was supposed to come, Siddharth? Kanwaljit Singh.
Oh yes, the Hyderabad spinner. Yeah.
They had asked for Kanwaljit, and this man came. Noel David.
Yeah.
So, but electric fielder.
Yes, very good fielder for sure. Yeah.
Perfect fielder. And it was not his fault that he was picked, na?
Yes, absolutely.
Young fellow. So, you're right. Noel Who. It was like Racing, Dungarpur Racing, Chetan Who.
About Chetan Sharma?
Chetan Sharma.
Okay.
Chetan Who. So these are, I mean, there are many such this thing. If you remember, there was this very funny story about Jyoti Yadav, right?
JP Yadav and Jyoti Yadav.
Ha. Just they picked Jyoti Yadav
Yeah, correct.
instead of JP Yadav.
Correct.
So such things happen.
Yeah, and it happened not just in India. I mean, there was a Mark Taylor, Peter Taylor confusion in Australia also. They were supposed to pick Mark Taylor, and they went and picked Peter Taylor, who was like, I mean, there was a confusion, I guess, between which Taylor they were referring to, and Peter Taylor was he was the spinner. Mark Taylor was the batsman.
Oh, wow. Correct. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. But this was funny. I mean, just because you won't be picking the wrong Yadav.
Yeah. So, two cricketers specifically who I wanted to chat with you about, given that you know them so well and have authored their books, both from Delhi, Virendra Sehwag and Virat Kohli. Very different, but yet, tell us about your, first let's start with Sehwag. When did you first observe him? When did you first see him? What were your impressions? Tell us about that.
Local cricket, they would say ye ghungra le baal wala, curly hair. And he's a ferocious belter of the ball, which he was. He was a fearless cricketer. But, similarity between Virat and Sehwag. One, obviously, both masters at the crease, right? Both match winners. And both were turned away by DDCA.
Okay. So that is the similarity. Yeah.
Sehwag was also asked he was rejected. And so was Virat Kohli. And both made lots of runs and then came back next season. And I mean, you know very well what they're doing, what Sehwag did. Almost he hit a third triple hundred at CCI. And Virat, of course, I mean, we know. I mean, he's just pursuing something which makes him such an exciting batsman to watch. And both confident. You would believe me, whether they were when they're playing local cricket, they were big hits. Then they played for Delhi, and both always played on their terms, And once they were able to secure their places, they never looked back. Never looked back. And an exciting batsman to watch. Both Siddharth. I mean, Sehwag, of course, was something which we had never known this kind of batting, right? We had there was Mr. Gundappa Vishwanath, there was Sandeep Patil, then Kapil Dev. I mean, such graceful hitters of the ball, such great timers of the ball. And then you had Sehwag. And then you had, of course, the great Azharuddin. Then you had the great VVS Lakshman. But Sehwag and Virat, the best thing about them, Siddharth, is they're fearless. Fearless. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And that DDCA point, I mean, I often, tell me, how does it, I mean, I know that a number of players have been broken because of it, but do you also think that the attitude that people like Sehwag and Virat had, that is like, come what may, I will succeed, comes from the fact that that the DDCA actually rejected them?
Yeah, because see, if you are good, it is, look, Ajay Sharma also struggled. Rishabh Pant was driven away by DDCA. Rishabh Pant. I remember his coach Devendra Sharma. He says, "Sir, do something. This boy is under 14. He's so good. They are not picking him because he's not from Delhi." So then he went to Rajasthan, and then he came back, and look, where is Rishabh Pant now? So I think it is a very, very good a characteristic of DDCA that they reject good players. They know he's going to be good, so let us reject him and make him, that adds to the determination to come back. You look at Even Ajay Sharma struggled. Manoj Prabhakar struggled because Manoj was not from Delhi. He was from Ghaziabad. They would tell him, go and play for UP. And he made his place in Delhi. Same thing. He was also rejected. He played for Delhi all his life. You look at Sehwag, you look at Virat Kohli, Gautam Gambhir. Gautam Gambhir they were saying, oh, he's too young, too young. But when he started making runs, they had to take notice. He was such a wonderful batsman. There's no doubt about that.
And Navdeep Saini too.
Navdeep Saini, for a different reason, because Chetan Chauhan thought, oh, this Gambhir is playing somebody, an outsider, and which was, Mr. Chauhan had his point. He said he hasn't played Delhi League, but that Delhi League is hopeless. I can't remember in my life anybody being picked because of his performance in Delhi Cricket League, DDCA League. Not one player. I don't remember. So, yeah.
So there can actually be a dream team of DDCA rejects.
Oh, yes. Dream team. You're absolutely right. Dream team of rejects. And so many of them played and went outside. No.
Correct.
They knew because here they were convinced that there is so much of corruption happening. And, they went and played elsewhere. Look at how Pradeep Jain played for Haryana. Look at Rajendra Goyal in those days when there was no corruption. He realized. Then he went and played for Haryana. Sukhwinder Singh went and played for Orissa, for Assam. So many of them. Hari Gidwani from Delhi went away to Bihar. So many of them.
Have things got better or worse, Vijay? Because ever since I've been watching cricket, the DDCA seems to have been a constant mess. Is it just been a mess throughout?
Incorrigible. DDCA is incorrigible. It is one center, Siddharth, where umpires don't want to come and officiate. Match referees, they don't want to come because of the poor treatment. And most teams would hate coming to Delhi because of the facilities or lack of facilities at the ground, lack of practice pitches at the ground. Can you imagine a center like DDC not having good practice wickets? You look at the stadium, Siddharth, it's an ugly stadium. Yeah.
And to get into that stadium, you need a pass.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. And most of the Ranji Trophy matches are played in front of nobody watching. Because they don't want you to come and watch. And there is nothing which would attract you to come to Ferozshah Kotla. Yeah. So you would rather go and sit and enjoy the sun in the ruins next door, the Ferozshah Kotla ruins, than come and watch a cricket match here because there is no cricket ambience. Much better, Siddharth. I don't know if you watched a match at the Roshanara ground.
No, I've heard a lot about it. Never watched it.
Oh, you would have loved. In winter sun, watching a match at Roshanara was far more enjoyable. Watching a match at the racecourse ground in good old days was enjoyable. And even Palam ground. Open ground,
The services ground, right? Yeah.
So these are far more attractive grounds than the Ferozshah Kotla. Even the little Jamia Millia ground is so good. Yeah.
So about Sehwag, the constant stereotype about Sehwag, of course, is that he was see ball, hit ball. But tell us about, but obviously he was an extremely thinking cricketer who could read the game. Tell us about that. I mean, do you feel that aspect gets lost in all that talk about Sehwag?
Yeah, but can anybody survive in cricket if he tries to hit every ball?
No.
Not possible. It is such a poor assessment of a batsman. He had good defense. Yeah, he had good defense, just like Virat Kohli has good defense. Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Lakshman, Saurabh, whoever. I mean, earlier days Gavaskar was. Unless you have good defense, can you be a good batsman? You cannot. So the only thing was he was not a defensive batsman. He would realize that if the bowler was getting on top, he had to take a chance, and he would just step out and give him a like they say, he would give him a stick. So whether a spinner or a fast bowler, and he had a good eye. Sehwag, like they used to say about Vishwanath, they would say, oh, he had 2 strokes for every ball. That was because he could pick the ball so early. Same with Sehwag. He would also pick the ball early, and he would, and he never, rarely did he play half shot. If he had, there were of course predetermined shots also, but he would not hesitate. Rarely he would check his shot. He would go through his shot. So that comes from the fact that he is not afraid of losing his wicket. There was this thing I remember. This was narrated to me by Gambhir, where he said, Sehwag told him, bahar nikal ke maar. Right? Bahar nikal ke means step out and hit him over the head, the bowler. So, you know what Gambhir replied? He said, I'm not Sehwag, it will land up in slips. Yeah. So that was Sehwag, because he would hit the ball so hard, it would carry past the fielder, over the fielder, or over the fence. And I can share one incident in Melbourne. Remember when he got out for 195?
Yes.
Trying to hit the ball for a 6?
Yeah.
And when we were going for the press conference, we had to pass through the ground to the other end. And he was there. So I said, Viru, what was the need for you to play that shot? This was when 2000?
2003.
2003. So then he said, but the fault was mine. I said, how? He said that the ball deserved to be hit for a 6 only. This guy has got out for 191 trying to hit a 6. And he's blaming himself. So that's the kind of attitude you need in the middle, So I remember, I forgot to tell you one incident of Raman Lamba. He says, I asked him, what is your, how do you decide what shots to play? He says, look, my bat begins from first slip and ends up in cover. So wherever I connect the ball, it becomes that shot. It can go over the slips, it can go to point, it can go to cover boundary. Simple. So his thing was that there is very little time against fast bowlers to wait and decide. There are times you have to take charge. So that's what Virat Kohli also does so beautifully. That's what Sehwag did so beautifully. I think Sehwag was probably, I don't know, Siddharth, you'll have to correct me. I think I have not seen a more attacking batsman in Indian cricket or read about such an attacking batsman.
Oh, yes. In Test cricket especially. I mean, the first ball, he would go for it.
Yeah.
Not even Atul Badade.
Let's leave the legends aside.
Yeah. Yes. But he used to hit the ball really hard, no doubt.
Yeah, I think before that there was Kapil. Because apart from Sehwag, I mean, apart from Kapil, who of course hit the 4 sixes to avoid the follow-on at Lords, I think I can see Sehwag doing something like that. Those are the two cricketers who I can see doing something like that.
Yeah. And Siddharth, Kapil, many of Kapil's shots, which you would feel, they have been cracking shots, would be miss hits.
Yeah.
Miss hits. I remember he hit one straight 6 of Pringle, I think that bowler in South Africa on that 92 tour.
Merrick Pringle,
And at Port Elizabeth Test match, he got 100, Kapil.
Correct. Great 100, yeah.
Great 100. So there was a 6 which landed behind the press box. And I said also in the evening, that was an amazing shot. I said it landed behind our press box. He said, ठीक से आया नहीं. Imagine, ठीक से आया नहीं तो it landed behind the press box. What if he had connected? He would have lost the match. I mean, lost the ball. And
So talking about Virat, though, you of course saw him from very young days, but and many people who wrote about him even in the Ranji days spoke about him as a future talent.
yes.
But did you, even at that age, did you feel that he would up his game to this level, or did you feel he would be more a good batsman, like a very good batsman?
Yeah, honestly, Siddharth, I will be lying if I say, oh, no, I thought he'll be a great batsman. No, no way. Yes, he was a very attractive batsman to watch at that young age. And the drive he would play with such authority, and playing his shots on the rise, and of course, he used to play. Those days also he would play across the line, but connect as it is today. Also he plays across the line, but is able to connect. Honestly, he did promise to play for India, but except for his coach Rajkumar Sharma, I don't think anybody could have predicted that he would play this big. He would one day become this big a player. But Rajkumar Sharma was always confident. Always he would talk about this boy. He says, "Aap dekhna, aap dekhna." Then we used to sometimes we would get irritated. This bloody fellow coming and just talking about his student. But see how he has proved right. Yeah, how he has proved right. And Rajkumar Sharma, everyone thought he is a bowling coach, he was a good bowler. How would he? But even today, every day, almost every day, Virat speaks to his coach. Yeah, even after achieving so much, he wants to know not technical flaws or just that 5-minute talk, of how you feel. So that's the respect he has for his coach. That's the respect he has for his cricket, which he feels is not complete without his coach assessing his innings. And even today, he gets a scolding from his coach. So that's the kind of relationship they have. And but yes, to answer your question, very few they used to talk about him. What a very gifted player I have, Virat. But and he proved it. He would get big hundreds there in at the young age.
Yeah, I think until 2010, 2000, everyone thought that this was a good player who could be a very good player. But then suddenly 2012 onwards, he's just gone into another sphere altogether.
Yes, absolutely. And you look at his range of shots and he, in no time you realize he's 25. No time you realize he's got his 50. Yeah, he hardly gives the impression that he's busy, but he's always busy in his own way.
Yeah, and the scary thing about it is he's doing it in a very mathematical fashion. Like he's willing the 50s and he's willing the hundreds. It's coming at so predictable rates that it is very scary. It is no longer looks like a contest where a bowler has a chance. It looks like if he has decided that it would be, and he would do it. So I keep telling this in previous podcasts as well. Till 2015, 16, he didn't have a big double hundred in tests, and that was being pointed out. Like his highest score was 140 something, and then he went and got in 18 months 6 double hundreds.
See.
So it is very scary that he decides something and that happens. It's one thing that player decides something. It's another thing like he decides and it happens in the exact fashion that he wants it to happen. That is some control over mind.
Correct.
More than the skill itself.
Vijay, having seen cricket in Delhi for so many years, and people like Raman Lamba, Manoj Prabhakar, and several Ajay Jadeja, several very feisty characters, you can call them. So does Virat's on-field performance surprise you at all, or do you feel people make too much of it, or are you also critical sometimes of how he behaves? What is your take on that?
I think it is. See, if you see, Siddharth, I did make this point in the book which I wrote that much of it is to sort of, put on, right? In the sense, it is as if he's trying to trying to push himself. He's trying to egg on himself or he's charging himself to put up an intense fight, and that he does it by his behavior. And you tell me, Siddharth, if you get to see it because the camera focuses on him, right?
Yes.
What if the camera doesn't focus on him?
Yeah, then you'll see very little of it.
Very little. And how is it going to impact you? It's not going to impact you. What happens is, now look, if somebody has dropped a catch, I think any captain will react. Somebody will react strongly, somebody will react, say, oh, come on, yeah. Right? But he will react.
Yes.
Definitely he will react. Even if he is ice cool captain like, say, Steve Waugh. But here, anything happens, the camera focuses on Virat Kohli. Why?
That's true. He's too much in focus. Yeah.
Too much in focus. And as a captain, if he's too much involved, is it wrong?
No.
He has to be involved. If he doesn't involve himself, you will say, ye dekho, he's least bothered. When he involves himself, we say, oh, he is too much. He's critical of his players. He's making faces. Why is he so aggressive? Why is he this? Why is he that? Arey yaar, don't show him on screen, yaar.
In fact, VVS Lakshman, in his book, he makes a very interesting point. He says in that famous 2001 tour, Australia series, in fact, which we spoke about, he says, even Indian players, traditionally known as good boys, that is the Sachins and himself and Rahul Dravid even sometimes, they sledged the Australian players. They spoke to them.
Yes.
But that those days it wasn't, you couldn't pick up things on the mic, or you couldn't the camera wasn't constantly pointing to these players. So as viewers we didn't know.
Correct.
But he said these things happened before too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And they were not constant sledging going on.
No. Once in a while. Yeah.
Once in a while, yes. If you remember. Once McGrath came and said something, Sachin had hit him for a six, remember?
Yeah, in Nairobi.
And McGrath came and said something and Sachin gave it back to him.
Yeah.
But that's it. It was forgotten at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with your point that the excessive focus of camera on Virat is making us excessively critical of him.
Siddharth and Ashoka, next time you go to the ground and watch, you won't even be wanting to see how Virat is reacting. You will be watching the game. You will be watching the player or the fielder or the batsman, right? And something happens, you're not going to focus on Virat unless he flashes on the screen. So I think, that like what Siddharth said, too much of focus on him is making us too much critical.
That is absolutely true, and people don't realize it even. In fact, what you said, half the people who criticize him don't even realize the reasons why he's becoming such a big focus of everyday's play, because the TV wants him to be the focus of the play. Yes. Because he's the one who sells.
Absolutely. If if you think of a series without Virat.
There is no, there would be probably half the amount of money they will lose. There won't be sponsors.
So that is also there. And he is the most visible face of Indian cricket.
That's true.
Most visible. Even when he's not sitting, watching the game from the balcony, they'll show him. There are 10 other players also, yaar.
and if his wife happens to be at the game, they will keep showing her.
Exactly. I think it's silly,
Yeah.
Mind you, Siddharth, believe me, off the field, he is private, yes, and he has to be. And he is very, very respectful.
Okay, so Vijay, we have taken a lot of your time and it is getting a little late. So let us wrap up with, given the years you've worked and what you've learned, suppose somebody is just entering the field or wants to enter the field. These days you have many college students, people who are 20, 21 who want to become sports writers, sports journalists. What are the 2 or 3 things that you would tell them from your own learning and from your own experience?
One is, you have to be very honest to your profession, right? Don't become personal in your writings. And also, you have to watch what my like I shared with you, my senior told me, Mr. KB Mohan, that to write, to understand, you have to watch at the ground, one, and a lot of reading. And you can't be just reading your own report next day and say, oh, I've written very well. You must also read what others are writing. There'll be many days they would have written better than you. So we have to learn from it. We have to accept that yes, Siddhartha and Ashoka have written better reports than me today. So I can't be feeling jealous, or trying to. I shouldn't run them down. You have to accept and learn. Plus, like I said, these days I see they don't take notes. You have to take notes, even if you have Crick Info, CrickBiz, CrickBuzz, or whatever these websites to follow. You can always fall back and see what happened. But when you write a note, when you write notes, you write your own observations. So that those observations come in handy when you sit down to write your match report. So I think you have to and never miss a ball. It's very easy for me to say, but it's very, very hard to follow. There will be times when you would be wanting to take your eyes off and relax. But try and watch as much as possible because it's an assignment and the reader is depending on your report. So, and never miss the first ball. Never miss the first ball. You have to accept the fact that the first ball, would an umpire miss the first ball? Can he come and start officiating from the second ball? Nahin, na?
No.
No. So you are also like that. You have to watch every ball as much as possible, and read and also respect your fellow colleagues. Nobody's competing, Siddharth. I mean, it's a wrong thing to imagine that so and so is my competitor. No, he's doing his job. You do your job and leave it to the others to judge, na? That who is good or who is not good or whatever, who is average or whatever. But best is to accept that there can be better reporters than you. That is one thing.
Wonderful. And you had once mentioned in another interview, I think I saw it on the web, where you said a very, very interesting thing. You said that the sport always comes with the spirit of celebration. Oh, and you had said how in the whole newspaper, the sports page is the one positive bit in the whole newspaper. So you had told the youngsters to embrace that spirit.
Absolutely. It is the only page where you celebrate, na? And also, Siddharth and Ashoka, you will have to agree with me. It is only in sport that we shake hands with the guy who has beaten you.
Yeah.
Correct? At the end of the bout or at the end of the match, they won the game, but you still shake hands, na? You go and say, well played. It doesn't happen in any other profession, Siddharth. It's in sport. So that's what you learn. So I have enjoyed writings of many of my fellow colleagues from, not just from my organization, from other newspapers also. And nothing gives me a greater thrill than watching a young journalist doing very good work, So you always know that, okay, yeah, this boy is, I should keep in mind and he's worth following and I should read his reporting. And there are many good youngsters today who write good English, who observe well. But the only problem, like we discussed at the beginning, they don't have a big platform to write. They will be asked to write 350 words of Ranji Trophy, only 500 words of a test match, a day's play. So it sort of curtails their writing. It hampers their the growth. But there are many, many good young writers today also.
Wonderful. So on that note, Ashoka, you have anything to add?
No. I'm just listening. I'm also a listener here. So
okay. So Vijay, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and we are thrilled to have had this opportunity to chat. And I'm sure our listeners would lap up whatever you have said. And please, if there is any listener out here, I doubt it, but if there's any listener out here who is not reading or following Vijay Lokapally on Twitter or following his reports, please do. Please read up even the previous reports. A lot of them are online. You can go back and get an idea of different games and different matches from his reports. And you can, we'll get back to you sometime in the next week or so, hopefully with another podcast, and keep listening. Thank you.